All right. Chapter 13, the Euphrates as a Spirit River. There are sundry other traces of Babylonian ideas pervading the symbolism of the apocalypse, which would well repay examination, but we cannot enter into the investigation here at any length. I may just indicate the difficult passage where four angels are said to be bound on the great river Euphrates. The commentators, while recognizing in the binding of well-known allusion with regard to evil spirits, have been at a loss to understand why the Euphrates should be the place of their confinement. We obtained some new light, however, when we learned that in Babylonian belief, the Euphrates as being the entrance to the great deep, Tehom was mystically the point of contact with the spirit world. Not only was it the beginning of the ocean stream, which was supposed to encircle the earth like a monstrous serpent, but it was also identified with Datelia, the river of death, in the underworld. Thus, while it was called the river of the great deep and the river of the snake, viz., of the encircling ocean, of which it was but a prolongation, it was called also the river of Enina, the mistress of the ghost world, and sometimes the river of the sheepcot of the ghosts. The latter expression apparently meaning the place where spirits were in safekeeping. The Euphrates, conceived as Dactylia, the river of death, was the home of the Anunnaki, or evil spirits, and the entrance to the realm of Hades. In Lucian's Necromantica, Menipus and his Chaldean guide embark on the Euphrates in order to reach the land of the dead. Here, perhaps, we have also the origin of the enigmatical Daniel, the legendary submarine cavern at Babylon, which was the abode of evil spirits and enchanters. In the Daniel caverns under the roots of the ocean met the masters of the spell. The apocalyptic vision of the loosing of the destroying angels bound at the river Euphrates belongs, we cannot doubt, to this branch of the great Tiamat cycle. The eschatological reference to the same is seen in the perilous water which in the legends of all countries the soul has to cross after death before it can win its way to its heavenly destination in the west. It is the ocean stream separating this earth from the unknown beyond, beneath which the sun has his abode. The spirit of the waters, as the spirit of evil in the form of a monstrous dog or dragon, tries to seize it and overcome the passing soul, and the ocean stream, Tiamat, in which some are engulfed in the passage, becomes the abyss of hell. For the righteous, however, a safe means of transit is provided. In the words of a curious death chant used by the Badagas, a tribe in the Nelgahari Hills, the chamber dark of death shall open to his soul. The sea shall rise and waves surround on every side, but yet that awful bridge, no thicker than a thread, shall stand both firm and strong. The dragon's yawning mouth is shut, it brings no fear. The chief points which have come into prominence in the foregoing pages may be summed up as follows. 1. Mosaic record of the creation is based on the more ancient accounts which have been preserved in the Babylonian tablets. In the words of Bishop Harold Brown, Moses probably had before him the ancient primeval record of the formation of the world, and certain documents or traditions referring to the patriarchal ages which he incorporated into his history. Or, as Renan puts it, Genesis 1 embodies the Chaldean cosmogony as simplified by Semitic genius and contains good Babylonian science for the time when it was written. There was a primitive religion of the whole Semitic race in which El, the strong one in heaven, was invoked by the ancestors of all the Semitic races before there were Babylonians in Babylon, Phoenicians in Sidon and Tyrus before there were Jews in Mesopotamia and Jerusalem. This was the ancient common possession, says Professor Max Dunker, of the Eastern Semitic tribes from whom the Hebrews were sprung. But With that clearness and vigor, the Hebrews have succeeded in purifying and exalting the rude fancies of the nations so closely akin to them. The serious and thoughtful effort to deepen the traditions of the past into an ethical significance to sublimate legends into simple moral teaching and transplant the myth into the region of moral earnestness and moral purpose to pass beyond the rude naturalism of their kinsmen into the supernatural. From the varied polytheism of Babel and Canaan to the monotheism, this it is which gives to the Hebrews the first place, and not among Semitic nations only, in the sphere of religious feeling and development. The overruling and directing power which caused this spiritual development was inspiration. 2. The religious conceptions of the Babylonians, which lay at the base of the Hebrews' early faith in finding presentation and expression, seem to have their motive or suggestion in some of the phenomenal aspects of nature, more especially in that glorious sun drama which was evoked the religious enthusiasm of most primitive peoples. Thus, the primary idea of the operation of the divine creator was suggested by the sun, the most potent and resplendent object in the natural world, which is the generator and source of all physical life and the apparent cause of all things that exist. Jehovah himself cannot be addressed by his worshiper in fitter language than this: the Lord God is a sun, nor his Messiah find a loftier title than the Son of Righteousness. All spiritual conceptions, as is well known, are founded on the material basis of this nature. And as the sun is the most striking object in the firmament, the one source, as it seems to the simple primitive mind, of light and warmth, pure, exalted, potent, we need not wonder that not only Moloch worshippers, but seekers after God in all lands and in all states of education have taken it as the image of the great and holy being, after whom they seek, and develop the religious vocabulary by ringing the changes on the phrases that denote its unique qualities. 3. As the Babylonian sun god Merodach, the Lord of Light, was held to be the creator of the earth, so, on the other hand, the dark, turbid waters of the sea, out of which the sun was seen to rise, as if triumphant over a power that had held undisputed sway, became a vivid image of that primeval chaos from which the world was called forth when the omnipotent subjugated it to law and order. Accordingly, the great deep was constituted a symbol of anarchy and lawlessness. 4. This tumultuous water, the envelope of the earth mass, was personified as a dragon or serpentine monster, Tiamat, and from being the representative of physical evil became ultimately significant of moral evil. 5. Among the Hebrews, this serpent or dragon is the being that introduces sin among the newly created race and draws man into disobedience, i.e., to range himself on the side of the disorder and confusion of which the dragon serpent in the cosmic sphere was the animated symbol, of which the lawless one, Antichrist, is to be the final development. 6. This chaos dragon may be traced as an archaic survival and semi-mythological abstraction in several books of the Old Testament. It further contributed shape and coloring to later conceptions of Satan or the devil, who even down to medieval times was believed to have some undefined connection with the great deep and was often called the dragon. 7. The sea, as a visible remnant of the once universal waters of chaos upon which the Creator had put forth his coercive powers, was held to be a rebellious element, hostile to law and order, and in league with the spirit of evil. As such, it is eventually to be destroyed and have no place in the renovated earth. 8. The deep or abyss, as evil in itself and the unexplored home of mystery, was supposed to be the abode of evil spirits and was identified with Hades, Tartaros, or hell. 9. Deserts and wilderness, as the counterparts on land of the watery chaos and typical survivals of the waste and desolation of the yet unformed earth, were similarly supposed to be the chosen haunt of evil spirits. The ruling idea, which runs through all these weird and sometimes grotesque conceptions, is evidently if evidently that which Dr. Martineau has excellently developed in a thoughtful discourse on the realm of order. In the production and preservation of order, all men recognize something that is sacred. We have an intuitive conviction that it is not at bottom the earliest condition of things, that whatever is rose out of some dead groundwork of confusion and nothingness, and incessantly gravitates thitherwards again, and that without a positive energy of God, no universe could have emerged from the void or be suspended out of it for an hour. There is no task more indubitably divine than the creation of beauty out of chaos, the imposition of law upon lawless, and the setting forth of times and seasons from the stagnant and eternal night. And so the Bible opens with a work of arrangement and closes with one of restoration, looks around the ancient firmament at first and sees that all is good, and surveys the new heavens at last to make sure that evil is no more. The spoiling of his works, the wild wandering from his will, he will bear no more. The disorder that has gathered together shall be rectified. He will again divide the darkness from the light, and confusion and wrong. All that hurts and destroys shall be thrust into unknown depths, while wisdom and holiness shall be as the brightness of the firmament and as the stars forever and ever. One of the Anunnaki, or demons of the abyss, page 59, in attendance on Alat, the goddess of the infernal region, represented as brandishing two serpents and traversing Dattila, the river of death, page 77, from an Assyrian monument. And that's the end of this book. There is a large appendix, which I am not going to read, so you should buy this book. All right. Babylonian influence on the Bible and popular beliefs. Shorty. A. Smith Palmer. Thanks. How do I shut this off? There it goes.